Hey everybody, welcome back to the Shoot of Hope channel. We are with the Hope Speaks podcast, but we're joined today again by a fan favorite of the channel, Logan C over here.
Hello, how we doing, man? Long time no talk. This is my third time on, so thanks for having me again.
Has the studio changed at all since?
A little bit. I see some more movie posters that I didn't see before. There's one obviously with Logan. It's kind of ironic because you got Logan here today. But no, it still looks as awesome as it did before.
Well, thank you. We're going to be hoping to expand, and part of the expansion process actually involves Logan coming up here. And we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But first, I want to catch up on life. So what have you been up to recently within the past month, 2 months? Because it's been a while since we've connected. And I know that there's a lot of stuff growing on your channel, the logo. So jump right into that.
So the last couple months, obviously, working out of school, we've been finishing up the school year. School year ended, summer started. So my goal was to get equipment around and to start purchasing stuff to start my own studio. I actually purchased laptop, microphone, headset, all this stuff for it. And I also got, for all my movie collection that I have, I got a unique way of storing it. So that's pretty cool. So look forward to that in the future. But otherwise, I've just been enjoying my summer, man. I mean, how about you? What have you been up to?
Not too much. I just got back from a New Jersey trip, which I don't know if anybody can tell on the camera, but I'm very red in the face and very red in the stomach as well. I never really burn. Yeah. So it's a very interesting thing because I go down to Florida. I've been down there for at least once for the past 4 years, right. Every year. Don't burn. I go on cruises to the Caribbean, don't put on sunscreen, don't burn. But apparently I go to New Jersey, I burn. So everybody in New Jersey, I pray for you because, sun's real.
You would think that I'm part Irish because I burn so easily.
Really?
I actually just went to Virginia recently too, to the beach a few days, and I was like a lobster. But eventually I turned tan, so that's a good thing. It hurts for a couple of days because of sunburn. That's a pain you don't want, but eventually I turned tan, so it's cool.
I guess I am human.
Yeah.
I never thought that, but I am. But as far as that, we have David DeMarco going to come on the podcast in a later date to talk about his project that I helped him out in Pittsburgh with. So I can't really update you on that perspective, but I did just get done doing a rock royalty tribute band. Shout out to them. I didn't perform, but I recorded their concert, and that turned out really well. So I don't know when exactly they're leaking that to everybody else that they want to watch live performance, but when that happens, I will gladly send the link. That is really all that's up to me. I know we're going to talk about films later on your podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
About Fast 9. So if you really want the spoiler in depth, you will go tune into his channel, which, again, coming back to the logo, what are your plans for the logo in the future?
So the logo previously was done on an app called Anchor. It's a really cool app where you can pretty much chat with your friends. You don't need any type of equipment at all. You can use your phone and you can call in and you can record your podcast that way. That was doing okay for a while, but I thought I needed to step it up a notch. So now I'm going to advance myself into the YouTube platform. I've been working on logo, graphics, stuff like that over the last few weeks to get a YouTube channel up and running. I do have a couple guests lined up. I have a band that I actually went to school with called Send Requests. They're actually pretty popular around the Wilkes-Barre, Nanticoke, Northeast PA area, so that'll be pretty cool. I also have another personal friend of ours, Noah Craig, coming on to talk about Space Jam in the future, and then we're having you on here today, so
woohoo. Go check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Now I know you talked about, because there's a few instances where we were collaborating over the phone and discussing not only your channel but my channel, and you talked about your movie collection that you were going to have in the background.
Yeah.
And how many movies do you say that you have on DVD?
Off the top of my head, I want to say at least 7,000. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. So what happened was, it's actually pretty funny.
I was going to ask you what happened.
So in my room originally, I had 3 bookshelves, and I had all types of movies on them. Now, instead of just buying more bookshelves, I just kept stacking them up on each other. And the blonde in me came out, so I decided I'm going to move the entire bookshelf with all the movies on it. So I go to move it, and what happens? All the bookshelves tumble down, all movies go on the floor. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh no, all my movies are ruined, freaking out. So I looked on YouTube, I found there's these things on Amazon called Stack and Store, something like that. They're Snap and Store. I found a unique way of storing DVDs that's actually less space, and it'll be pretty cool how I do it. I'm not completed with it yet, but look forward to that in the future. So it'll be pretty unique how I store them now. But yeah, that was the blonde in me that came out, and all my movies ended up everywhere. So
Do you have any inspiration behind when you're building a studio? Now, for me, I went on Amazon. I got this backdrop, which people thought was actually a painting at one time. But like I go out, I buy things periodically, like the microphones. We just got these 2 new microphones and the new computer that came in this year. But is there any design that you basically, like any YouTubers that you inspire when you build your background or when you're building yourself? Do you look up to anybody?
Not really in a background per se, but there are a lot of YouTubers I do follow. Chris Van Vlight's one of them. He has a show called Insight. He talks with all type of pop culture icons and stuff like that. His is essentially just in his room. Like he sits there and you just see the background of his room and he talks to people. So it's essentially what mine is. So I made as much space as I could out of the space that I have. So essentially my studio is my bedroom technically. But yeah, so Chris Van Vlight would be one of them that I look up to.
So out of everything that we've kind of talked about in the past, and of course, feel free to ask me questions too here, because I think the conversation goes really well when we both ask questions. But because I'm going to try to introduce I'm going to try to introduce what you're going to be doing here on the channel. So would you consider yourself like a big fan of entertainment? Like, are you like down to the bone, like down to the core type?
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. Anything entertainment.
So what we had discussed with Logan over the phone, and we're hoping Kevin Walker will join the squad as well with his own segment. But coming up in August / end of this month, you will end up seeing Logan more on the Shield of Hope channel. You will be seeing him on a movie segment.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what we discussed?
So we talked for a while on the phone, and we kept throwing ideas out there. And randomly, I was sitting at home one day, and I was thinking, what about we do like some type of like movie, like madness or movie mania type thing? And you had said you always wanted to do a morning segment. So you had mentioned, let's do a Monday morning at the movies or something like that, where we talk about movies that are coming up, movies that we've seen lately, just talk about movies in general. So, yeah.
And I think it's a really good thing to have, especially like the morning show. I've always wanted to do like my own morning show. Of course, you know, we're not at the point yet, whether it's subscribers, whether it's equipment, we're not ready to live stream anything.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So obviously we will be shooting these pre-recorded and then putting them out for Monday mornings and there's different branches we can do. We've even talked about segueing into like Fridays or who knows what, but we're going to be sticking with Monday mornings coming up here after August, after Shield of Hope Celebration, in which we have a great surprise for you guys at Shield of Hope Celebration. And actually one of the panels is going to be hosted by yours truly, Logan.
Yep. I'm excited. I can't wait. So
now, of course, you've looked back over my work and you're still looking back over a few of the things before the panel.
Yeah.
What has been something that you look back on and like kind of thought about that you're going to ask? Not, I don't want you to ask anything yet, but is there anything particularly that caught your eye that you didn't catch like years ago?
So, not really anything that caught my eye. What I want to ask, especially you, I saw as each was released, the overall production got better and better. And I wanted to ask you something along the lines of, well, what did you notice that was going well? What did you notice that was not doing well? And how did you adjust and make the changes needed to make it a better quality? Mm-hmm. So, stuff along those lines. Obviously, talk to some of the actors in it. Talk about how what their days were like leading up to like their roles and stuff, how they practiced and stuff like that. So, it'll be pretty neat.
And it's really going to be a fun panel, and we have not released the names for the people on the panel yet. Logan knows about 1 or 2 of them that are going to be on the panel, but he does not know the entire squad. So, but, of course, you can expect that around August 5th, which is our anniversary on YouTube. And, you know, it's just going to be an overall great experience.
Right.
You know, I always look forward to doing the Shield of Hope celebrations. They're something that now, what I've talked to you about, what I've talked to everybody else about, and the audience, if you've been following us since 2015, you knew in 2020 it was the 5-year anniversary of Memory of Lies. And, you know, I thought to myself, I was like, you know, I swear I put out a film every year from 2015 to 2020, and we're still working on getting our short film out for this year. I just thought I did one every year, but apparently 2016 I actually missed. So we do not have a 5th-year anniversary of anything this year, but next year we actually have 2 5th-year anniversaries.
2 5 years, nice.
So it's Visions of Truth and Bus Ride that came out in 2017, so you can look forward to that. But off topic, let's, well, actually it's on topic, but off topic. Let's go into the movie discussion a little bit here. Now, you saw Fast 7. We're not going to go into great details because we're saying that for your podcast, but your overall expectations of that film, just in broad terms.
Overall, Fast 9, I've been waiting for years for this movie. I'm a huge fan of the entire franchise, which may not be a popular opinion because a lot of people are trashing it now because they're like, oh, let it end. No, it's one of those things I don't think could end because it's just so the nostalgia of it. Like, you see all the big names coming together, like Vin Diesel. You had John Cena in this past one. You have Michelle Rodriguez, who plays Letty. Of course, Paul Walker, who was in it for so many years. Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, all of them. And you have pop culture icons. Cardi B was in this last one. Francis Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight champion, was in this last one. So it's just really incredible, like, the names you see and the overall message of the movie is family. And I don't know, like, it's kind of like a feel good for me when you see, like, the overall message is that even if you're not the same, you can still be family. When you come together, good things will happen. So overall, the movie was everything that I had hoped it was. I really enjoyed it. It was probably my second favorite one. I still think that 6 will still be my favorite one. That's the last one with Paul Walker in it the whole time. But yeah, what about you? What was your expectations going into it? I know we talked and you had said you're not really a fan of the franchises, but you're going to give it a shot. So what'd you think?
One of the biggest things was because I saw 1 and 2. I don't remember 3 and 4 too well, but I've seen from 5 on. 1 and 2 though were kind of the moments where it's like, okay, it stuck to street racing. It's like, and it's like people to people vibe. You still had that family vibe. You still had like everything else. It just, I didn't like that they took it more of, I don't want to say it's a sci-fi realm, but they've gone more action and like more out there and way out there. And that really showed up here in Fast 9, by the way.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
I'll agree.
But at the end of the day, it's a story that, you know, I don't want to bash the creators too much because, like, it's their own project. It's Vin Diesel's project. They're taking the direction they want to go, the way they're going to make money. I just wish they didn't focus too much on going unrealistic. I just wish they focused on keeping it more like base street racing, you know, and going around maybe running from the police instead of being the police.
Right, I get that.
That would have been a lot. But, of course, you can only go so far with that, you know, too. So maybe that if they would have kept it on that route, they maybe would have died off in, like, 5. Maybe that would have been it. So I guess to my question is, are you happy with when you watch film franchises, and this is just any franchises, it doesn't have to be Fast and Furious, it could be anything else. Do you ever wish that film franchises stuck to the original, like 1 or 2 episodes, or do you like that they kind of branch off into more of this fantasy realm, or is that a good way of asking that question?
Yeah, it would depend on overall what I thought of the franchise, like, from the old, like, for instance, Star Wars. We talked about Star Wars. I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure we've both mentioned that we didn't like the last couple movies of Star Wars, and that we felt that
I have yet to have anybody on this podcast that actually likes Disney Star Wars, other than Rogue One, which I'm like, I got to give credit to where credit's due. They made a good Rogue One.
Yeah.
But like, it's so weird that, like, and that's why I guess it's up to our interpretation as fans. Stuff that we wish, but we also have to be respected. We also have to respect the people that create this stuff. And I know, like, people that watch my work, I hope that they like respect my work too and the direction I'm going. But I always want to be realistic with the characters. One of the things in this film, which I'll talk a little bit on your podcast about, is John Cena. So I'll relate John Cena to Bill Burr. For people that don't know who Bill Burr is, he's a comedian, but I'm pretty sure Bill Burr is like this universal name right now, just like John Cena. But for people that don't know them, it's hard for me to watch in the Mandalorian series Bill Burr portray like one of the Star Wars characters, because every time he's on screen, you just think, oh, it's Bill Burr. Yep. Well, here enter John Cena to the fray, and he shows up in this Fast and Furious franchise, and for the first half of the movie, I'm like, yeah, I just see John Cena. But what's unlike Bill Burr was the second half of the movie, where I actually bought into him being Dom's brother. And I thought that was actually incredible acting on John Cena's part, that he made you forget that he was a star beforehand and a WWE wrestler, and he is now just this character alone.
And that's the great thing about movies. That's partially why I fell in love with movies. It kind of makes you, like you mentioned, John Cena. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I followed him in WWE. I've seen all of his movies, but I don't go in thinking, oh, that's John Cena. I think, oh, that's Jake Toretto. That's Dom's brother, like you mentioned, because he's just so good at capturing your imagination and making you not really like become that character, but like you're like, all right, I bought into this. Like I know that that's Jake Toretto. That's not John Cena. So
Do you buy into all the actors that do that though? Is there certain actors out there that like no matter what part they play, they're like, oh, this is like okay. For example, Ben Affleck. For me, every time Ben Affleck's on the screen, he doesn't change his hair, he doesn't change his style. He just shows up, acts with the same like, I'm coming to get you. Yeah, that's it. Like just same monotone voice, just everything else. It's like it's just Ben Affleck didn't play Batman. Ben Affleck played Ben Affleck playing Batman.
As much as I love this man, Adam Sandler's one of those actors who you're always going to look at. That's Adam Sandler. When I watched Uncut Gems, which was an amazing movie, by the way, I don't know if you saw it.
I have not.
I think that was one of his best movies. When I went into it, I'm like, oh no, this man, one of the funniest men in the world, is not going to take this serious role serious. And he hit it out of the park. So I will say I went in thinking, okay, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to be like, that's Adam Sandler. And I just want to laugh, even though it's not funny, just because I know it's Adam Sandler. So that'd be the one that I would think.
Other than the box office draw, and this is something that I asked you because I kind of know how I would go about it, being not only an independent filmmaker, but like I try to bring new actors into the fray, like into my films, not reuse them. Although we have reused like at least 3 or 4 people from each Shield Hill production, just because they're volunteers and we do. But do you ever, if say somebody handed you the keys to the kingdom and said, "Hey, here's this franchise, we're giving this to you," are you hiring celebrities or are you hiring new actors?
I would say a little bit of both. I think you definitely have to have the veterans on there to kind of take the newbies under their wing and be like, okay, hey, this is what you want to do during this scene. Or you want to not look at the camera here, but you want to look that way. Like, it's just like wrestling. I'm sorry that I keep coming back to it, but I think of everything as wrestling in a way. So when you make your entrance and the characters make their entrance, there's ways that they do it where they don't look at the camera here. They look that way, and it's like, oh, wow, that changes the shot completely. So when I go into it, I'm thinking, okay, I need a veteran that can come in, teach the actors, okay, this is where the camera's going to be. This is what you need to look. This is what your face needs to look like. This is what's emotions you need to show. So somebody along those lines, especially me coming in, not as an independent film person, if I'm coming in green as grass, not knowing what I'm doing, I'm going to have somebody who's been in movies before kind of taking that ship and...
Yeah, and we're going to relate this back. Everything that we're talking about here goes back to the Fast and Furious franchise just a little bit, but because it seems like they're always adding new big actors. Like The Rock joined in Fast 5. You got John Cena now. Is there something to be said that are they overcasting too many big actors, or can you never have enough big actors?
I do think there is a lot. There's a reason, and we'll go into that in my podcast more about why they did the whole Rock and John Cena switch. But I do think Fast and Furious was kind of like there's a lot of people. You kept introducing new characters. Like this is the 9th one, and this is the first time we're even realizing that Dominic Toretto even has a brother. Like we didn't even know that. We knew that he had a sister, Mia. We didn't know he had a brother till the 9th one. You're waiting till the 9th one to show that. So I think they probably could have introduced that somewhere in the beginning, but I don't know how you feel.
It's a tough sell. I just feel, and this is one, and we'll also have the same discussion on your podcast. Everything that we say, you can hear a little bit about in both podcasts, but Dom for the past, at least since Fast 4, Fast 3, I would say he's about family in Fast 1 and Fast 2, but like the family aspect comes out later. When they try to build this, because Vin Diesel didn't know, like, what one wasn't he in? He
was not in 2 or 3.
Okay, so in there, they didn't really build it around family, and they didn't build it around Dom's family. So, and I know you're gonna correct me on that. I get what you're saying, but what I'm trying to take this in the direction of conversation is, for him being all about family, since like Fast 5, 6, 7, 8, and now 9. I can't see his character, and this is one of the hard parts of this film, was I know he's bullheaded sometimes, and I know that he's had a bad past, but if he cares that much about family, no matter what they've done wrong, how come he's never reached out to his brother? Because his brother's still family.
That's true. I want to answer you, but I don't want to spoil it for my podcast. I'm just going to leave it at this. They do a really good job at telling the story as to why Dom and his brother haven't talked. I get your point, but I do see why Dom really didn't talk to him for so long.
I mean, I get it. If we were in the same family situation,
Yeah.
I get the idea. It's just you sold to me that this character is all about family, and he like breaks his only rule, kind of. So that
I get where you're going there.
Yeah, but we'll talk more about that on your podcast. As far as coming back to the film and entertainment field, what are we looking forward to in the future? I know you talked about Space Jams, and there's a lot of different things coming on the horizon that you will be talking about on Monday mornings.
Yep.
But what's something that just an outreach, just an outlook? Because when we do the Monday morning show, it's going to be simply what's been in theaters like this coming week or next week. It's a short-term goal. We're talking about long-term here. So movies that are exciting. I have not seen The Quiet Place 2.
I have.
It still irks me, but...
Yeah. But, so, Black Widow just came out. I have yet to see that. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I have not yet.
That is one to look for. Obviously, you mentioned Space Jam. I think this month in general is like a big thing for movies. You have Escape Room, the second Escape Room, coming out the same day as Space Jam. You have Snake Eyes coming out on the 23rd, which is the G.I. Joe. I don't know if you've seen those movies. The G.I. Joe, like the third one in that. Jeez. Yeah, so many movies coming up. But those are just the main ones that for this month that I'm looking forward to. What about you? Anything you got?
Snake Eyes is something that really kind of captures my attention, but doesn't because of G.I. Joe Retaliation. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much farther they're gonna now. They're gonna run that. They're gonna run all these film franchises into the ground. They'll deal with Transformers and whatever.
Yeah.
Again, Quiet Place 2 was on my list. Black Widow's still on my list to see. I'm looking forward more to the Legends of Shang-Chi. Am I saying that right for Marvel?
Shang-Chi, yeah.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to that one more than I am looking forward to Black Widow. Again, I just feel like Black Widow was so mishandled. Black Widow should have been the movie that came out when Captain Marvel came out, because Captain Marvel had zero irrelevance to the whole Endgame plot. And plus, we all know what happened in Endgame, so obviously she died, Black Widow. So it would have been a lot better instead of starting off phase 4/whatever, this kind of layover series going between WandaVision, Loki, and everything else. Unless they're saying that they're going to bring her back somehow, I think it's a terrible placement for a film.
Right.
And I don't know how you feel about that, but those are some of my ones that I'm looking forward to. Or, I guess Snake Eye I'm not really looking forward to, but...
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned bringing her back, because it seems like they do that in everything. Like... I do see them bringing her back, or Iron Man maybe, or Captain America even. But, yeah.
I mean, and I know we talked about this almost too much on this podcast, but where does Marvel go without Iron Man, without Captain America, without Black Widow? You still have Thor, you still got Hulk. But listen, I know all the Spider-Man fans get mad at me every time I say it. Peter Parker is not the person you want carrying the weight of the MCU. I don't see him as a strong character. I don't see him as anything but that, he's still a teenager. He's still growing up. This isn't a Tobey Maguire one where he's a little bit older and you think he could handle the world problems. This is still a kid growing up, and they're telling a story. At least the Russos tried to tell a story of Spider-Man maturing to adulthood. And I don't, they just can't throw the weight of the world on him. I mean, they could, but I don't know what else that's really going to do.
Right. Yeah, I do see what you mean. Yeah. He is just a teenager. Do you like Tobey Maguire more than Tom Holland? We probably talked about this before. I will say this in all respect. The only one I don't like is Garfield. Who's Andrew? No, I'm kidding.
Who is Andrew Garfield? And it's not even a person. It's more of a... He doesn't really fit the role. Mm-hmm. Garfield is actually a really good actor. Yeah. Just like all these... Obviously, they wouldn't be in Hollywood if they weren't good actors. All of them. So when I say I don't like something, it's not... Don't take it personally, people. But I'll reference Tobey Maguire to Tom Holland like I will any other James Bond to Daniel Craig. It's not that Daniel Craig is the better Bond. It's that Daniel Craig, for his time, he's the only James Bond that really got roughed up and dirtied and bloodied. That actually made him look like he was a person and a great spy. Tobey Maguire, yeah, he bled a little bit on screen and all that, but as far as really getting beat down and and it has to do a lot with directors too. Because I'm not trying to throw shade at Sam Raimi, but I think the Russos and between everybody else handled their Spider-Mans a lot better than Raimi did. So I think a whole combination of things gives me Tom Holland as a better Spider-Man, because he was put in a better crew, a better position, and he's also a little bit better actor, but they're not afraid to take his Spider-Man to actually getting beat down to actually losing, to actually make it feel like his life's being threatened.
That makes sense. Other than the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, I don't see him after that really kind of life-threatening. The first one I thought, okay, this is going to be the end of Spider-Man. Then, of course, what happens with William Dafoe? He turns tables on William Dafoe.
Their Green Goblin, though. I like the Green Goblin. There's certain characters. Doc Ock I used to like as a kid, but then going back and watching the films now, Doc Ock was like, a little bit there. I still like, who's the newspaper guy? The
J.J. Jameson.
J.J. Jameson.
Yeah.
So I liked him, and of course they showed him at the end credit scene in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
So he's now into the MCU technically. But there's so many things that you could take away from the old Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire. Like the Green Goblin, I liked a lot better than some of the other. Now, I guess I should finish that sentence. I liked the Green Goblin a lot better than some of the other villains, even in the MCU ones for Spider-Man. But who was the guy that Jake Gyllenhaal just played? Mysterio. I keep thinking Magneto, but that's completely opposite. Mysterio. I did like Jake Gyllenhaal's character, though. I think that was really like Michael Keaton. All right, like good villain, good actor, but Spider-Man wasn't threatened until Mysterio.
I think he was the best choice as an actor to choose for that role too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So when it comes down to, we talked a lot about entertainment, films. Let's talk a little bit about sports. Because we don't talk too many sports here on the Shield of Hope, but and there is actually something I want to get to at the very end, which involves Chris Pratt and Tomorrow Wars. So
I watched that movie too.
We're going to have an article pulled up on screen. Okay. But before I do that, let's talk a little bit about sports.
Okay.
What are your predictions for the upcoming NFL season now that the draft's over?
The upcoming NFL season. Well, of course, I'm a Steelers fan. Last year we started out guns blazing, 11-0, and then you know what happened after that. As far as my team's perspective, I do think we win the division again. But as far as overall outlook, I do like a lot of the rookies coming in. I think Trevor Lawrence, who was the first overall pick, will have a great year. Zach Wilson's the big rookie that I'm looking forward to. He was drafted by the New York Jets, who's going to come in as the quarterback there. I think he can change that team around. Overall, it's too early to tell who makes it to the Super Bowl. But I will say one team that I think will surprise everybody this year. Look out for the Chicago Bears. I do think the Chicago Bears, with the pickup of Justin Fields, that offense has been, apparently from what I've been looking at and reading, has been a smoke show at training camp recently. So look out for the Chicago Bears. I think they can turn some heads in the NFC North.
I don't trust the Bears. I don't.
Really?
I trust them to make playoffs because of their defense. Yeah. Like, historically, their defense has always been good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever trust quarterbacks that go to Chicago. And I didn't trust Justin Fields at Ohio State.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit in the air about that. But who's going to have a better... So, because the Jets have a history of ruining players, not only ruining players, but kind of killing their fans' hopes. So who's going to have a better career? Are you going to have Wilson as a Jet or Darnold as a Panther?
I think Wilson within the next 10 years. Sorry, 5 years.
Let's say better career with the Jets is what I'm saying. So like in the span. Say Wilson gets traded to like the Patriots and takes off. Like, we're not talking about that. But as far as like Wilson with the Jets, between the time he's with the Jets compared to Darnold with the Panthers, now that Darnold's out of New York, which one of those quarterbacks is going to have better?
I'll say Wilson. I do think Sam Darnold was a little overrated coming out. I don't think he should have been the first overall pick. Who am I to say that? I'm just a normal, random, average Joe from Pennsylvania.
How dare you kill my USC fandom?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But, I mean, I don't think it was all really Darnold's fault that the Jets did bad. I mean, look at the team. The team was horrendous. The management, horrendous. Like, there were so many office decisions that should have been made that weren't. But I do think Zach Wilson coming in and a lot of the free agents they picked up will change that team around a little. They won't make the playoffs, but I do see them having a winning season.
Do you have your division winners picked yet?
I can tell you the division winners. So we'll start in the AFC. AFC North, I have the Steelers winning that division. In the AFC South, I have the Titans actually winning that one. That Julio Jones pickup is gonna. Those Titans are the team to watch, I think. In the West, obviously the Chiefs. I don't see any team. Maybe the Chargers will be the only team in that division that might have a chance at beating the Chiefs, but Patrick Mahomes, you're not stopping that man. And then the AFC East, we have not the Patriots. I'm going to say that the Bills will win that. I'm a huge Josh Allen guy. What about you for the AFC? You got anybody?
AFC, Chiefs. I'm actually thinking, I'm still between the Bills or the Patriots. If they don't start Cam Newton, I feel like the Patriots will win the division. Like I trust Mac Jones more than I trust Cam Newton.
Why? Just curious.
I just feel like Mac Jones has not been a turnover machine. Cam Newton's been a turnover machine lately. I'm not talking about like Super Bowl MVP Cam Newton, or not. He wasn't never Super Bowl MVP. He didn't win the Super Bowl, but he was never MVP Cam Newton during regular season. He's long past that. I feel like all that he can do is run the ball anymore. And you saw like the majority of his touchdowns last year were running. I don't think that the Patriots are built for that with two tight ends now that can catch the ball. I don't feel with the wide receivers they picked up that they're going to be running the ball like that.
Okay.
And I feel like it's all built for Mac Jones. I feel like Nick Saban and Bill Belichick have a good relationship with each other. And he's like, yeah, I'll wait for this kid to fall to me because all these other people are going to pick all these. And even if they didn't pick them, they're like, oh, we'll get somebody else in the second round. And then that guy will probably be starting over Cam Newton. Yeah. But I do say that, and I just feel like you can't underestimate Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is one of the greatest, if not the greatest coach in NFL history, along with the fact that he just watched Tom Brady win a Super Bowl with another team. I think there's a lot of fuel to that fire, and it showed it because they went out and spent millions of dollars this offseason since they could. So I'm going to go lean Patriots. Okay. So Patriots, Chiefs. I actually made the prediction that I think the Steelers will finish third in that division. The Bengals, of course, are below you. I think it's the Browns' division to win, but I would not be shocked if Harbaugh, just being a good coach, runs away with Lamar Jackson.
Me as a Steelers fan, I'm man enough to admit I was rooting for the Browns in the playoffs. After they kicked us out, I was rooting against the Chiefs. I do think, the Browns, I have them second. I think it goes Steelers, Browns, Ravens, and then Bengals.
I think your defense and I think your wide receivers for the Steelers are good. Yeah. I just feel you have an aging quarterback, and your offensive line has kind of decreased this year.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we'll see. But again, thing is, too, and I always argue with Connor over this, and if you're listening, because this is a section of sports now on the Shield of Hope channel, Steelers to me, not even Steelers, just offensive linemen, okay? Because Connor will be over here like on draft day. He'll be texting me throughout round 7. He'll be like, I can't believe they picked up this offensive lineman. I was like, but aren't offensive linemen just people you can just pay and throw in there? Maybe they'll actually like do something. Like I feel like they're unpredictable. Like they're probably the most unpredictable thing in the sport, aren't they?
Yeah, I do say that's what wins you games, though.
Oh, it does, but isn't that unpredictable? Because you could pay somebody, which has been an all-star for like 2-3 seasons. Mm-hmm. He could go to a different team, and yeah, it's about scheming and stuff, but it could just like, it's almost like the offense liability just collapsed.
Yeah, I can see that.
And of course, when you play in the NFC West, like Seattle Seahawks do, you're facing Aaron Donald.
Oh yeah,
you're facing this whole offense line. You got J.J. Watt out there now.
Joey Bosa,
or
Nick Bosa, not Joey.
Yeah, Nick Bosa. But I wouldn't be surprised if Joey showed up one day.
You never know.
But it's just one of those situations, Mm-hmm. But so let me finish that. So the final one, I'm going to agree with the Titans. I don't trust Carson Wentz, and I think if the Colts got a better quarterback, which I guess Carson's still better than Rivers. But if they got even a better quarterback, I feel like they would be.
I think Carson has a good year.
You think so?
I like the receivers he has there. I think they're better than the Eagles receivers. I'm a huge Michael Pittman Jr. guy. He's going to have a big year, and I do see the Colts probably getting a wild card spot this year.
Oh, I won't argue with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't picked my wild card yet, but so that's my AFC. We'll do a quick rundown of the NFC real quick, and then we'll wrap up this podcast.
So we'll start in your division.
I ain't picking Seattle, if that's what you're wondering.
I'm not picking Seattle either. I got the Rams winning that one. You mentioned Aaron Donald. I think he's the best player on the planet on defense. I got the Rams there. I mentioned the Bears. I got the Bears winning the North. I'm gonna go with the Giants on the NFC East, and here's why. Saquon Barkley was hurt a lot previously in the last year, and I think this year he's going to have a breakout year. Not a breakout year. He's had a breakout year. He's one of the best running backs. You know what I mean? Like coming back from injury, he's going to have a good rebound year.
Come back. Offensive Player of the year.
Yeah, offensive player of the year. And then what division am I missing?
Did you get the South?
I did not get the South. Buccaneers. Tom Brady, obviously, you're not going to not have that man in the playoffs. I mean, come on.
So I'm going to agree with the Bucs. I'm actually going to choose the Washington football team.
What?
I think that they can only have a step up from last year.
Mm-hmm.
They had such quarterback problems last year. Not saying they still don't have quarterback controversy right now, but I like Fitzmagic. I like his leadership. If he starts, I think he could easily get 8-9 wins. And quite frankly, I think that's enough to win that division. Because we've seen that for the past, 4 seasons, where you can get almost about a 500 record or so and win that division.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Washington football team. The North, you almost have to go with the Packers, but if Aaron Rodgers is there, that throws everything into a mix. But
I think that's why they don't win.
I'm just going to go Green Bay because I think he'll be there.
Okay.
So Green Bay right now, and then you go the NFC West, which is the home of Seattle Seahawks. I would not be shocked if Seattle finished in third. Still could possibly make a wild card, but I think the Rams are that good. I think the 49ers are going to make a comeback, and the Cardinals are not that far behind. I could see all 4 teams having a 9-8 or above record.
I think that'll be the best division to watch. Those 4 teams could all easily just be within a game of each other.
And the 49ers, for as stacked as they are, they have a fourth place schedule this year because that's how bad they were last year based off injuries and stuff like that. It's they just got unlucky. But I'm over here boy, that's going to be a beast to go through. So, but anyway, I guess it's between the Rams and the 49ers, and I got to choose Rams. Yeah. I think Stafford's going to put him over the edge.
So you think, well, let's go back to the question of who has a better career. Do you think that it was a better deal for Stafford to come to the Rams, or do you think it was better for Goff to go to the Lions? Who do you think will have a better career?
It was overall better for Stafford.
Okay.
Stafford leaving Detroit, which he had a great career with Detroit, and that the failure was not on him. So it's going to be great for Stafford to get into a new environment, so that helps him out, mentally. Physically, he'll be better because he won't be nearly hit as much, I don't believe, with that Rams offensive line. So, and of course, you got Sean McVay, which is one of the upcoming great head coaches of his era right now. And then you do the flip side, you go to Goff, going to Detroit, you can expect another losing season. Goff, he wasn't really that good with the Rams. He showed moments of promise, but he's not your franchise quarterback. And if Sean McVay can't work with you, I don't foresee why anybody else really, like Dan Campbell. Is that Dan Campbell's job out there in Detroit? I don't see why Dan Campbell would be able to get you going if Sean McVay can't. I just feel like, what did they send? 2 first-round picks with him?
Yep.
So if they sent 2 first-round picks along with him there, I think he's just holding over for another season or 2 seasons before Detroit can finally make that quarterback and feel comfortable in the draft. So it's a win for. I mean, you got to look at it. Who has a better chance to win the division? Rams or Lions?
Well, Rams.
I think Stafford's your clear choice out of that trade.
Cool. It was nice to talk sports. I have another question for you.
Okay.
You follow the NBA?
I don't.
Okay. I was going to say if you've seen the Suns thing. What do you think of the Suns and Bucks in the finals?
I am happy it's not LeBron James. So I will say that publicly, and I have no problem with that because, listen, I was a Cleveland Cavaliers fan growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
So it was heartbreaking to see LeBron leave, and the way he left was just straight up disrespectful to Ohio. I wouldn't even talk to myself because, as a kid in Pennsylvania, I could care less just because he wasn't a hometown kid or whatever. But so he goes to Ohio, leaves, goes down to Miami to chase some rings, which is fine. Players do that. Great players want to be remembered. They want to get the rings. Comes back to Cleveland. We throw him a ceremony for some reason. And then he gets us a championship. Then we really throw a ceremony. Then he leaves again. And, of course, politics come into play. But it just, his whole career has been, if he would have just been more consistent on and off the field. He's been consistent on the field with points, but he's not been consistent with what he perceives with off the field, whether it's politically or whether it's just, where he's headed. He'll lie to be he lied. He's like, why would you hold an interview in Cleveland, Ohio to say that, I'm going to Miami? And it's just, I don't know. It's a shame. I really thought he would catch Jordan, but I think Jordan's a better player.
That's a different argument.
I know, but
Yeah.
I thought he would. Like, I really thought he would catch Jordan.
Yeah.
So
We can have that conversation on my end of the podcast.
we will do that
I'm
because
actually
yours is
curious
more
to
about
see.
sports. But I wanna bring it back to Tomorrow World. Let's get your interpretation on the Tomorrow Wars, without spoilers, because of course I haven't seen it yet.
The Tomorrow War kind of reminds me in a way of a mixture of Stranger Things and Godzilla. I think it's a combination of those two. What about you? What do you think of it?
Well, I have not seen it yet. That's why I'm
Okay.
kind of asking you just the basis overall. Because we have an article, and I don't know what it is. Chris Pratt is one of the bigger known faces in Hollywood, I would say.
For sure.
You know, and of course he's very spoken about his religious belief, his political belief. But what is up with just media trying to tear into him? By the way, there's a article from Polygon. A lot of people right now, it's been circling the internet. It's titled "The Tomorrow War is Chris Pratt's ultimate salute to the working class heroism plus aliens," which is a good title. But then, scroll down here. I want to read you the first paragraph that it opens up with. Back in 2017, fresh up the continued success of Guardians of the Galaxy film franchise and gearing up for the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Chris Pratt gave a cover story interview with Men's Fitness magazine and bemoaned the state of Hollywood cinema about white men. I don't see personal stories, this is his quote by the way, I don't see personal stories that necessarily resonate with me because they're not my stories, quotation, the voices of the average blue-collared American worker isn't necessarily represented in Hollywood, Pratt said. So the author goes back to say, that was a willfully ignorant statement back then, and it still is now. I want to know, from your perspective, how that's an ignorant statement. Because do you see any blue-collared working class men portrayed in Hollywood films?
Well, not in the recent time, obviously, with what's been going on recently in the world. I don't think you really see a lot of that anymore. But no, now that you mention it,
what's the need to even call it out in an article? Like, I don't understand. Like,
yeah.
Why are you now? I'm not even going to say who the author is. I really don't care who the author of this article is because it's a crappy article. But something that I want to say, not only like does Hollywood not represent, and I don't understand how you can be in this world that like, oh yeah, these millionaires, they completely understand what blue collar workers are like. No. But if we were going into why would they even write this article? Like,
there's no need for it, to be honest, in my opinion. I mean, he's got this movie coming out. It's a great movie. He hasn't, to my knowledge, done anything negative in a way to think that he's ignorant in any way. I don't know if you know anything that I don't know, but
I really don't know why the media hates Chris Pratt.
I think he's been a respectable guy.
Other than he doesn't follow what they want him to say. Is really what it comes down to. But what is amazing to me is this story. If you look at, and I want to check on the Rotten Tomatoes real quick. So, but because what would you say the fan reaction has been to Tomorrow Wars?
That it's probably gonna be one of the best movies of the year. Everyone I've talked to and every review I've seen, they've all loved it. So,
all right, for the audience that's listening, I am trying to pull it up right now. Okay, so it has a Rotten Tomato meter of 54%. So the critics gave it a 54. Fans have given it an 80.
Yeah.
Which is about right, probably. Judging based on the reviews of you and others that have seen it so far. I just wish it wasn't just strictly on, Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
I wish it would have hit theaters just for a little theatrical run before it went to Amazon. But I understand what they're doing, you know. But why is it that all these films, and this goes back to Star Wars franchises, go back to anything else, why is it that all these films, like the critics hate these films, but the fans love it? Why do all? I guess in my interpretation, critics, I guess, try to critique every film like it's going to win the Oscars, instead of just sitting back and enjoying and having a good time with it. Why so harsh scores on some of these films? And why is there such a divide, I guess, between critics and fans?
I mean, they wouldn't be called critics if they weren't having something to critique. But no.
But there's a difference between giving it 190.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, fans and we're gonna say critics are business people, so to speak. I hate to go back to wrestling again, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Vince McMahon, owner of WWE, likes an idea for some type of storyline. He loves it. He goes, says, you and you go out there. They go out there. The fans hate it. Fans go, oh, maybe you should do this. Well, what happens? Vince changes. It's like that. Like, the critics might see it, oh, it's got to go this way. This movie has to be like this. And if it doesn't go that way, then they're like, oh, I hate it. I hate this movie. But fans are like, wow, like, I really wanted it to go this way, and it met my expectations. Like, that's exactly what I wanted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does. But, like, I guess the question isn't not to be mean to anything, because we can sit back here on these podcasts and we can critique about things we like and don't like, but we typically say about the things we like more than we didn't like. Yeah. You know, we're kind of optimistic people. But when it comes to films like critics and fans, A, I believe that the critics bash fans for not agreeing with them.
Exactly.
A lot of the time. And B, if you're a director, a writer, an actor, aren't you happier when the fans side with you than the critics? Because I think you make more money that way if I stand corrected.
Yeah. Yeah, because the fans are going to want to keep going to see the movie 2 or 3 times. I've been wanting to see a movie 2 or 3 times. So, yeah, that's how you keep making money. You make the fans happy. You don't make the critics happy. Because they're critics. They're supposed to tell you you're bad at your job. Mm-hmm. So. Did
you hear any feedback? And this is something we'll end on, but it, of course, wraps it all up with the F9 series. You know, have you heard any feedback on that yet? I'll look that up real quick.
I haven't looked at, like, reviews or anything. The only one I watched was Chris Stuckman. Chris Stuckman, not to, again, make spoilers out of the movie, kind of went along the lines of where you went with it, how you thought it was too over the top. And, okay, why are they continuing to drag this on more and more like they've eventually done everything? That was a negative. But most of my friends who I saw it, I actually went to the movies with my cousins to see it. They all loved it. Actually, I went with an 8-year-old, and that kid never stays awake in the movies. But this is the one movie where he actually stayed up the whole time and watched it, and he said that was the best movie I've ever seen. Like, and he's 8, so he's already like, oh, wow, that's a good... I don't know if it's because of John Cena. I mean, but...
It's always because John Cena.
Yeah. But, I mean, half the time I thought it was a blank picture because John Cena's there. You can't see him. He's got a power. He's invisible.
By the way, it's an 82-60 split with the audience signing at 82, which, again, it's just one of those things to recap at least a little bit of the article and stuff like that. Like, I just don't understand the need to be writing this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, why interject that type of an opinion early on? And the fact that, you know, obviously political, we try not to get over political here on the channel, but it is a sense of why, like, I don't know how people live in their own bubble like that. Like, they're like, oh, well, the elite Hollywood millionaires know exactly what the blue-collar workers are. Right. No, and that's actually something that I applaud Chris Pratt for wanting to do films like that. And I know they're more historical films, but I appreciate what Matt Damon does with, like, whether it's Patriot Day, you know, he's Deepwater Horizon. That's Mark Wahlberg, I believe. But, you know, just like those type of movies that resonate not only historically, but show the actual working class, blue-collared, and what they actually go through throughout their daily lives and how they can actually be heroes as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that actually some of the most undeserved or unknown heroes are our working class people out there in America.
I agree. I would agree.
So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you, Logan. Again, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Official Logo Pod. We have an Instagram, the Logo Podcast. And you can find me very soon on YouTube. I'm going to add more to what we were talking about. So actually the Logo is going to have not only its own podcasting segment, but I'm adding in an own gaming channel and a movie review channel. So you'll find the 3 channels, the Logo Talks, the Logo Plays, and the Logo Reviews all on YouTube in the very near future. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. We look forward to it. Guys, check him out. Go follow. We'll put the links in the description below for what is up and available already. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the Shield of Hope channel. Thank you guys. Have a good day.